Great. So let's get started. Today's topic is about how to build a kick-ass portfolio, which is a very, very important thing for you as a content writer. But before we get started on that, I'll talk to you a little bit about myself. Actually, I want to know how many of you are um, joining a webinar for the first time with me? Can you just type in the chat window maybe? Just so I get a sense of how many of you know me and how much should I talk about myself? Okay, Krishna is not able to hear my voice. Is everyone else able to hear, or am I audible to everyone? Can you give me a thumbs up if I'm audible? Okay, so Krishna, you might want to check your connection because other people seem to be able to hear me, right? Yeah, so my question was, how many of you are joining this webinar with me for the first time, or have you um, been a part of any of the previous webinars? I know I see a few familiar names, but okay, I see a couple of you who are joining for the first time. Great. So I'll give you a little bit context on who I am and what makes me qualified to talk about this at all. Let me start sharing my screen. If you have any questions during the webinar, you can type it in the chat window. I will either take them up at that point if I look at the chat, or I'll address them towards the end of the webinar, right? Let me know if you can see my screen. Can you see it? Give me a thumbs up if you can see my screen. No? Okay, awesome. At least a few people can see the screen. Great. Okay. So just a bit of hygiene factor for those who are new, and I'll send you these links later as well. We have a 30-day email course, which is a free email course for folks who are looking to become highly paid content writers. You can sign up for that course on learn.supriyajain.com if you haven't already. What will happen once you sign on to this course is you will get one email in your inbox every day that talks about different facets of becoming a highly paid content writer and what you need to do to get there, right? To get to a place where you're easily earning 6 to 7 figure incomes. Then, of course, I do a little bit of learning content on my YouTube channel. So you can check some videos out there as well, which talks about how do you start your journey as a content writer and things like that. Actually, on that note, how many of you are beginners when it comes to content writing? And if you have any number of years of experience, just let me know that number also in the chat box so I can then maybe tailor this conversation accordingly. Anyone who's a beginner? Okay, we have a beginner and 3 years. Okay. Great. So we have a good mix, I think, of beginner and experienced writers. Super. So great. So I will then talk a little bit about, of course, how do you build your portfolio when you're just starting out your content writer journey, right? So we'll address that as well. And of course, for experienced content writers, it's about how do you make sure that your portfolio is very strong. Okay. And of course, we have an Instagram channel, so you can follow us for fresh insights. So towards the end of the session, I'll give you these links and you can access this free content. Now that more folks have joined in, I just want to take a little bit time to talk about who I am and why am I here talking to you about this. So I have spent almost 17 years in the industry where I have been, in the content and communication space. 8 of these years I spent in the corporate side, so on the client side, where I was the one who was like, my last role was at a very large IT company, and I was heading their thought leadership marketing initiative globally, and I had $1 million budget to spend on content initiatives. Um, but I figured that the agencies we were working with or the content writers we were working with were not that great, right? They may, like, there were various gaps. Either people were just not good at writing. They may understand the domain, but they were not doing great job of writing. Or they may write very well, but they didn't have any understanding of our business. So to fill that gap in the market, I stepped out of my corporate career and I started my own agency, which was wildly successful. Like, right, in 3 years, we had hit almost $1 million in our revenues. And then I started another agency post that, which is what is today Upgrade Consulting. And both companies, we were able to scale to multiple crores in revenues. In this course of time, I worked with over 60 B2B and B2C clients. I have been featured, like my opinions have been featured in multiple places, including, the TEDx, the World Economic Forum, ET Now, Economic Times, Times of India, like you name it, I've been there sort of. So, what I have what I've tried to do in the Content Collective, which is this community I run, which is now almost 35,000 people, is try and tell folks in the community how to become content writers that clients will pay big money for, right? And it's not just, and I always tell folks, it's not just about knowing how to put two words together in a language. That doesn't make you a good content writer. There are lots of nuances of becoming a content writer, which one people would want to work for, and then also showcasing your work in a way that people would say, I will pay you the money that you want for, you to be able to work with me. So, and there is another webinar I run, which is called Ascend, which is like a step-by-step framework to become a highly paid content writer. And there we talk about this opportunity, right? Um, to okay, I'm not going to dive into opportunity, otherwise we just and I tend to digress. So I'm going to come back to the topic and say there is a lot of work in the market, and trust me, everybody is struggling to find a writer. And if you are able to do certain things well, you could be one of those writers who become really a preferred partner for whichever client that you want to work with. And I don't say it only from the tech standpoint, but from across industries, there's a high demand, even with AI in the mix, of writers who can understand the industry, who can, think creatively, and who can do great storytelling, right? So, a lot of that we cover in various webinars and various week content, and of course, various. Can you still hear me? Think- Hi, sorry, I think I had a break in my network. Can you guys still hear me? If yes, hi, sorry, I had a bit of a network change because the power went out. I hope you guys can still hear me. Yes. Okay, so I'm gonna reshare my screen. Can you give me a thumbs up if I'm still okay? Awesome. Hmm. Let me just reshare the screen and get back on track. Okay. So yeah, that's a little bit about me. And with that, just diving in, and I see a few more people have joined in while we were talking about this. So just a few hygiene factors. If you have any questions in the middle of the webinar, you won't be able to unmute yourself, so you need to type them in the chat window, and I will answer them either whenever I see them or towards the end of the webinar, right? So be uh, patient a little bit when it comes to questions. Cool. Okay, so question to everyone. Why do we need a portfolio? Any thoughts? Just type them in the chat window, please. Why do we need a portfolio? And there are no wrong answers, so feel free to type whatever comes to your mind. Okay, to showcase our work, yes. Yeah, okay. It's a trademark, okay. To place yourself as an expert in a niche, yes. Anyone else? Show your potential. Okay. Showcase the level of expertise. Yes. Showcase work skills, work pieces, testimonials. Showcase our proof of work to attract clients and also demonstrate expertise in the subject. All good. Yes. All of these are good points. But let me tell you a story. Okay. Let's say you go to this website which has and you want to buy something, right? It's a let's say it's a some product that you've been looking for, maybe a camera or something. And you go to this website, but they don't show you the camera. They don't show what it can do. They don't show the features. They don't talk about it. They just says we have a camera, buy it, right? And you have to pay a lot of money to buy that camera. Would you buy it? Yes or no? So you're going to this website. You just know that the website sells a camera, but you don't have any information on what the camera looks like, what is its capabilities, what are the features that it has. Krishna is very adventurous, he will buy it, yes. But Paneet says no. Typically, no, right? When we buy something, we want to understand what this product is, right? We want to see what it looks like, what it performs like, what do other people think about it, right? And it's the same case when you are a content writer. You are essentially selling a service to people. They have no way to judge what your service is going to be like, and they need to see some proof. And that proof lies in your portfolio. Okay, so all of that you said in the chat box is correct, right? We need a portfolio so that potential clients can see your skills, they can see your expertise, and they can see that you have shown some proven results to clients beforehand, right? And that's the way they can judge whether they should be hiring you or not, whether as a content writer full time or as a freelancer, but they need to see that proof. And this portfolio is that proof, and every prospective client will ask for it. Now, somebody asked in the chat window, is a portfolio same as a resume? No, a resume is typically, it's more of a standard format where you talk about what is your education background, some past places that you have worked in, what kind of responsibilities you've handled. Whereas a portfolio is about a showcase of your work. So you talk about more of the work that you have done, and you show samples of how it looks like, right? So people can actually go and experience your work. So that's the portfolio. Okay. And every client is going to ask for it. So how many of you already have a portfolio? Just let me know in the chat window that today, if I send you a request saying, listen, I'm looking for a content writer for this industry, can you send me a portfolio? How many of you already have one ready? Okay, I see a few no's, a few yeses also. A very basic one. Okay. A majority of no's, and I think it's also because some of you are beginners, right? So that's great, and we'll talk about it. And I think some of you will have questions, right? If I'm a beginner, I don't have any proven results to show any clients, right? What do I do then? And I'll address that also. Okay. Now, what can a good portfolio do for you, right? That's the question. This is, I addressed this a little bit already, where it helps you win the trust of potential clients, right? That camera example, that when they see what you have to offer, they say, yes, this person can deliver what I'm looking for, and that gets you more business, right? The second thing it does is it demonstrates the quality of the work that you do, and it establishes your base to pitch for higher value work, right? And this is especially more important for beginners. Today, you may not have a portfolio, But tomorrow you do some project and then you add that work to your portfolio. So next client you go to, you have something that you can show. And later in this call, I will show you what my portfolio looks like. So you can like take some inspiration from that and start building along the way, right? So when you're able to demonstrate the quality of your work, people think, okay, this person's done a lot of good work and they are not going to come cheap. Okay. And I'll tell you a story about this later as well, because if you see, nobody's out there to spend their money for things that will not add value to them, right? Um, and everybody also wants a bargain. And unfortunately, what happens in the content writing community is a lot of people are competing on cost. Um, and there are millions of content writers out there, right? So you cannot win in the cost game, and you'll never reach the highly paid content writer, level if you are always competing on cost. So what you have to do is you have to think through value, and you have to build a perception saying this person will not come cheap because the value they're bringing to the table is awesome, right? Now, for example, again, a random example. Suppose you want to bring a performer to an event that you're doing, right? If it is a local performer, you will probably bargain and say, oh, I can pay you only so much, right? But suppose if you want to bring like a Shah Rukh Khan to perform on that event, you know that he's not going to come cheap, right? Because that's the brand perception and value in the market. And that's what we are trying to do. Of course, maybe not at that level, but to say, in fact, just one of my clients was telling me yesterday, Sophia, you're one of the most expensive writers, uh, you know, that we work with, and they work with many global writers as well, right? But they still send me work because the quality is impeccable. Yeah. So your portfolio is going to show them what you are capable of. And of course, most of the times when you're working with a client or interacting with a client for the first time, they are not the final decision makers, right? They need to convince people within the organization that, this person is good and, let's work with them. But they can't always bring you to the table, right? So they need to have a document that they can share internally with final decision makers to say, this is the person that we are going with, right? So portfolio is ultimately super, super important. Okay. Now, what does that look like? In my opinion, it has five things. One is a cover letter or a message that outlines your value proposition. The second is the sample of your work that shows your versatility as a content writer. Okay. Um, and when I say versatility, what I mean is when a client is hiring you for something, you're of course going to be working with multiple clients on multiple types of projects, right? So if you're only, and it's okay if you're only good at email marketing, for example, right? You can say, I only do this. But what happens in that case is, um, your initial reach to clients is limited, and your ability to cross sell and upsell in a client organization is limited. And what do I mean by cross sell and upsell, right? So today I get in, let's say, for example, my specialty is long form content. So I get into a client organization saying I write great leadership bylines. But the client needs multiple types of content, right? So if I only do leadership bylines, I only get that much and I'm not able to enter other spaces, right? But today I say, okay, I've done leadership bylines for you, but hey, by the way, I also do email marketing. And, can you give me some work on that front as well? Which also gets into some sort of like diversifying your offering thing, which we'll talk about in some other webinar. But I'm saying that the possibilities are more if you are more versatile in your writing, but it's, I mean, absolutely okay to specialize in one thing. And that's also quite cool. So, but if you're sending samples, versatility is good to showcase, both in terms of types of content and tone of content, right? Because every client, like, there was a time when in the morning I was writing for an idli dosa brand, and in the evening I was writing for a tech CEO. Their voices are very different. Do you have the range to be able to write for both of these kind of people? So that is the versatility that we're looking for. Third thing is your bio. Like they want to know a little bit about you, right? Who are you? Why are you the expert? Like how I showed you what I do and what's my background. That again establishes a sense of expertise and trust. Then they want testimonials and social proof. And now this is very important, right? Today we don't even order food without checking out the ratings of a restaurant, right? And what testimonials and social proof do is tell people that, others have worked with this person and they've got a positive experience. So the likelihood to trust you is a little more. Yeah. So this is a very important thing. And again, for beginners, I'll tell you how do you go about getting these. And finally, of course, contact details, right? How do they get in touch with you? Best way for them to reach out to you. So these are the 5 things that are important. Now, so we'll go one by one. Okay. So of course, a cover letter and message that outlines your value proposition. So that is the most important thing. Why? Because that's your first outreach. If you mess this up, people are not even going to open the next one. And this is my pet peeve on a lot of things that come my way as well, right? So my LinkedIn inbox or my email inbox is full of messages where people keep trying to sell to me. Okay. And nobody wants to be sold to. Like imagine somebody like just comes and rings your doorbell and says, "Hey, I'm, selling, this so and so book. How likely are you to entertain them?" They'll say, "Sorry, we don't have time, go away." Right? Literally, social media has become that. Every time you open LinkedIn or your inbox, there's somebody or the other who's saying, "Hey, I can, make your revenue 3x or your reach 10x or whatever that is." Do you even know what I'm looking for? Right? So that articulating that value proposition and not saying that I can write content for you is super important. Okay. And what is that value proposition? How do you define it? Right. Again, of course, it could be many things, but what I have seen is 3 key ways where there is either the quality, right? That I am better at this than anyone else, or the efficiency that, okay, maybe you are looking for something urgently and I'm going to make, if somebody else takes 10 days to write something, I'll give it to you in 5 days, right? So in marketing campaigns, time is of essence and content is used in marketing campaigns, right? So either that is efficiency, and third is cost, which is you deliver cheaper than anyone else. Now, like I said, most content writers are working in the third bucket. That okay, somebody's taking 50 paisa, I'll take 10 paisa. Okay. Today, I don't even charge per word. Okay. But if you were like, for example, for a 1,500 word article, if I write it myself, I charge 85,000 rupees. Now, I don't know how much that is per word, but maybe you can do the math, right? So if I tell people I charge 100 rupees a word, they start doing calculations. We don't want people to do calculations at all, right? Because they'll say then, oh, you wrote an and, why should I pay you 100 rupees to do that, right? So anytime a client asks me, what is your per word rate? I always tell them, I do not have a per word rate. This is my project rate. And then I don't haggle on like a few hundred words here, a few hundred words there, right? Um, and what that cements, and there's something of the anchoring bias, right? When you put a number out in a conversation, then all the conversation sort of circles around that number. So if I say I am charging 100 rupees per word, then all the conversations will happen around that number. I want the conversation to be around, there is nobody who can write better than Supriya. She understands our business, she understands our leadership, she is going to be able to deliver something that we are not going to get elsewhere. Once that concept is cemented in somebody's mind, then they're willing to pay you anything, right? So, what I want writers in the content collective to also do is change their mindset from cost to value. Okay. And this is again an interesting story because my mom does that a lot, and I like to tell the story that, if you go to a vegetable market, right? Like a local Sunday market. All those little thela shops, you will ask them to give you that 10 rupee discount. Okay. You know that person, poor thing, is, struggling to make ends meet, but you will still say, give me 10 rupees less. And our mom does that like every time. But if you walk into a supermarket, which is probably selling things 10x of the value, you will still pay that, right? You're not haggling anywhere with anyone because this is what the facility is worth. And that's where we also need to shift as content writers, right? We don't want to be vegetable vendors saying, I will charge you 50 paisa or 80 paisa per word, and I write thousands of words every month to just make bare minimum. We want to say, you're getting this, you will never get any iterations, you will never, you'll never have to edit the work. I will save you time, I will save you bandwidth, I will save you thinking power. I will make sure that your boss is happy with you based on the content that I've written. And when that value comes in, people are not haggling anymore, right? Um, and so most of the clients I convert, there's no negotiation. There's barely like, they'll say, Supriya, can you do some discount? I'll say, I'll do a 10% volume discount. If you give me, let's say 40 assets, then a 10% value discount is applicable, but otherwise there's no discount at all, right? And I've let go of projects, but I have not dropped my rates. And still there is no dearth of work. There's never a point in time where I have to say, oh, there's no work coming in, right? So change your mindset and you will see that your conversations will change accordingly. Okay. Okay. So here's an example. And like I said, you can take inspiration from this in terms of what uh, I offer to my clients, right? So I can think like a CEO. I shape ideas and words that don't feel out of place from their desk. I know as much as the subject expert often, so I give them ideas on what it is that they should talk about. So today, one of the big value propositions I bring to the table is because I read so much and I work with so many clients in the same niche. And this happens when you build expertise in a niche. You know so much about it that you are able to tell the client, don't write this, write that, because this idea is outdated. It doesn't make any sense. Other people are saying such fantastic stuff. And when you are the one giving ideas, of course, the execution also comes to you, right? So, of course, you have to build your expertise in this, right? I write impeccable content that's error-free, relatable, engaging, which shifts smoothly between tones and style. I deliver on time. And in case for some reason I'm not able to do that, I keep the communication very clear and transparent. For some reason, if I'm not able to do something, I always connect them to someone else who can help them without, taking any benefit for myself. And my work barely needs any feedback. So it becomes faster for the client to go to market. So with that value, I'm able to command my price. Now the question is, what is the value you bring to the table? And that's not going to happen immediately in this session, but this is a weekend. Take some time to sit and think about what is it that I can do better than anyone else, so that or and there are different ways and different things people like in different industries, right? So what is it that I bring to the table that nobody else does, and how do I shape that value proposition for myself? Okay. So this leads to a very simple cover letter, right? The message that I talked about, and you can take a screenshot if you like, but I'll give you the recording later as well. So I did see somebody in the chat window that says, will the recording be available? Yes, it will be. So again, a very simple cover letter, because the intention is when we're sending them the portfolio, they should be able to open the portfolio, right? So, and another important thing, if you see the first line here, thank you for your time today, right? What does that imply? That implies I've had a conversation with the client before, and that is super important. So anytime someone asks you, can you send me a portfolio? First, try and ask, um, oops. First, try and ask, can we get on a call? Okay. What happens? Because if you're sending just an email with your cover letter and your LinkedIn message with a link, it is very impersonal. And people don't know you. There is no bond. There is no vibe. And trust me, business happens based on relationships and nothing else. Okay. So when people know you and like you, that is when they are going to give you business. That is when they are going to go out of their way to give you a second chance. If you just send a cover letter with a, portfolio, chances are they will not give it a second look. And because so many of them, if a one vacancy opens up, hundreds of people end up applying for it, right? So you lose out um, on that chance. So there is another session where I especially talk about how do you find clients, right? And that is sort of inextricably linked to this one, where you need to have those conversations first. talk to the client about what is it that they want, offer value in the call. So to give you an example, I ghostwrite books for clients, and for a 30,000 word book, I charge 4 lakh plus. Okay. Now, whenever a client has a call with me about a book, like, okay, somebody recommended, Supriya, can you write this book for us? First two calls, I don't charge them anything, and I just try and understand what is it that they're writing, why do they want to write, what do they want to do after the book is written, right? And I've noticed that most people come into this space without any clue of what is it that they want. And it's also true of marketing managers in companies, right? They don't know what they're doing. Oh God, I just said it on record. But anyway, so so if you become the consultant and tell them this is what you can do, and here's maybe you're thinking of writing 5 emails. What if you write 8, and this becomes a better nurturing sequence for your clients? This is what you can say. Then they see, okay, this person knows what they're talking about, right? And then say, okay, now I've understood what you want. Let me send you a customized portfolio. And every time I send a portfolio, it is customized to the client's need, right? If they're looking for employee communication, I only send employee communication. If they're looking for hardcore tech CEO stuff, then I send that. If they're looking for life coaching stuff, I send that. So every time your portfolio needs to be customized, and that's only going to happen when you sort of know what is it that the clients want. Once you've had that conversation, the client knows your face. And for all those people who are off video, learn to do Zoom calls with video on, right? Because people want to see your faces. People want to know how you talk and how confident you are in your conversations. All those are also very important things, right? Because we keep saying don't judge a book by its cover, but everybody does. So how you show up, right? How you present yourself is super, super important in making that first impression. And then, of course, the client will evaluate the quality of your work. So do the conversation, then send this cover letter, right? So as discussed, I'm sending over my portfolio for your reference, attachment, and then give them a small summary that I've been a content and communication specialist for so many years. I've successfully delivered these assignments for name some companies. My clients prefer me for what I help them do. And with my expertise in content creation, I've been able to do XYZ, right? Now I'm excited about working with name their company, and I'm sure I can deliver value that aligns with your business goals. And let me know if you need something else. Very simple, very straightforward. You don't need to do anything else. Portfolio can be a little bit more elaborate, which I will show you next. So till now, if there are any questions, just, like I said, keep putting them in the chat window and I'll scroll over later. Oops. Okay, so another very, very important thing is what samples should you include? And this is where most of the writers mess up. Anytime I ask for content writing samples, I get such rubbish. I mean, there's no other word for it. And then I don't have the time. Like, why are clients outsourcing to you? Because they don't have the time. If they have to go through and look through each and every content piece that you have ever written, I'm sorry, but they're not going to come back. They're just, you're making things more difficult for you, for them. So, whoever that is scribbling on the screen, please don't do it. Okay. So what are the samples that you should include, right? Ones that are relevant to the industry that you're pitching to, which I already said, right? Customize it. Second is ones that demonstrate how you can write in different tonalities and channels. Sorry about the noise. There's some construction happening here. Okay. And typically blogs, articles, social media posts, emails, sales collateral are most often what people write. And ones that showcase your best work. Okay. But when I say that with a caveat. Work that you can deliver on consistently. Okay. I cannot tell you how many times I've got these amazing samples from people and I've given them work and they've turned in like something I couldn't use at all. And I've had to rewrite it at a moment's notice because I was like, okay, they're gonna give me something amazing and I don't need to have so much time to do this myself. And I've always ended up being burnt. And am I going to go back to them? No, right? So your samples should actually reflect your ability. Okay, they don't use ChatGPT or other people or somebody who's edited your work and use that edited work in your samples without the disclaimer, because that is going to actually damage your credibility. And finally, stuff that you've published online in media websites, etc. This is a very, very powerful motivator for people to um, give you work because it establishes your credibility like nothing else. So, for instance, my articles have been published on the World Economic Forum. Now, for those of you who don't know the World Economic Forum, it is the biggest gathering or biggest community of world leaders, both political and business. And they talk about, and this happens across the year, but their biggest event is in Davos every year. And they talk about everything from business to sustainability to what every topic under the sun that affects our planet. And they have published 3 or 4 of my articles on their website, and it is very difficult to get that done because um, you need to have that kind of writing and that level of authority and that idea to for them to give you space, right? Now that I have those 3, 4 articles published there, every time I send the links to those articles saying that I am published on the World Economic Forum, the client doesn't have to think twice, right? Because they know if she can get her own articles published on World Economic Forum without any, you know, company backing per se, then we are sure that whatever she writes for our leadership will be picked up by some media publication or something like that, right? So online, getting your work done, published online gives you that extra credibility. And I think one of a couple of people from the 8-week batch that I run have tried that and they've gotten published, and that has added a good value to their portfolio. So when you're building your portfolio, think through what is the industry that I'm writing for? What are the publications that that industry looks at? And then can I pitch a few stories, a few articles that can possibly get published? And if you do, then you have those logos to add in your portfolio as well. So this is about the samples. Now, a very important thing on samples is what not to include. Okay, this is super, super important. So don't send hundreds of samples, right? Only 5 or 6 relevant ones are enough. You can do 10, 15 also if they are relevant, but um, you know, so many times people will just send me a Google Drive link, which will literally have everything that they have ever done in multiple folders. If you think I'm going to go through each of those folders trying to find out, oh, can they write on this particular niche? Not happening. Okay, I'll just take one look at those folders, I'll close it, and I'll go back and look at somebody else. So instead, if you give those 5, 6 samples, then I'll click on 1 or 2 and see what that writing is. Then there's the other type of content writer who sends poems and personal journal entries. Like, oh, I have this personal blog, take a look. No, I don't want to. Because what I am contracting you for, unless you're writing for a literary magazine or something, is going to be business writing. Yeah. If your poem or I went on this trip and this was amazing kind of writing doesn't give me any sense of, do you understand my industry? How can you write, maybe in a slightly more formal tone? How can you write for a business or a consumer audience when you're writing from somebody else's desks? So this is a total no-no. In fact, this will probably end up, getting weeding you out of the whole selection process. Okay. Of course, you have to make sure that the samples that you're sending are clean and checked, because samples is spelling or grammar issues or plagiarism or terrible formatting or they put the reviewer off. Because if you're not willing to put in the effort in the sample that is going to get you business, are you going to put in effort in the work that I'm going to give you? So that becomes a black star against the name. So make sure that whatever samples you're creating, proofread them, check their grammar, etc. Now there are lots of free tools available to do that. And make sure you've not copy pasted them from somewhere. And of course, don't include AI generated samples. Just yesterday, again, I was having the same client conversation where they were like, you're still the most expensive writer, but we send you work, because she's like, I tried other content writers, and the other writer apparently took 2, 3 days to send the article. And that article then was 100% AI generated. And they're like, we can't use it, right? So you have to be careful on what is it that you are sending out to the client. Again, a very important thing, don't send out samples that contain other client sensitive information. Okay. Because if you do that, then this client knows that you have no processes, no systems, no confidentiality in place. And if they give you work, you're going to mess up and send it out to somebody else also. So don't do this. Plus, like I already said, don't include samples that are not 100% your work, because then that builds a false impression in front of the clients. And you would, when you actually do the work, they will probably end up not liking it, right? So be a bit honest in what you're sending out. Okay, so we've done cover letter, we've done samples, and the next bit is to create a great bio, which I often find is missing in the portfolios that I get, right? But like I said, people do business with people. They are not going to do business with random chunks of information, right? So, what your bio does is adds a little bit of personal touch to who you are, and lets the client experience that, okay, do I like this person? Do I not like this person? Right? Does my vibe match? Can we work together in the long run? Because what we have to do, again, very important point, is to treat every interaction as a relationship building exercise, that I'm in it for the long run. I want to continue working with you for many years to come. We don't want to treat it as a transaction. Okay. So that those personal touches are really important. So a bio basically shows who you are, what have you accomplished, what are your capabilities. And these are some important elements of what you can include in your bio. So first is, of course, an interesting opening. If you like, it's optional. Not everybody works, and it doesn't suit everybody's personality. So whatever your personality is, try and give an opening like that. But like they say, a novel's first line is the most important line. So this is your story, and an interesting opening will at least make the other person sit up and take notice, right? Then simply introduce yourself. What's your name, your designation, what is it that you do? Quick look at what you can do. So what are your strengths? What are some of the things that you're great at? And then showcase what you've done, right? Organizations of industries that you've worked with, results that you've delivered, or, like publications you've been featured in. And then give a small glimpse of your personality, right? Things that you're passionate about, who you are as a person, where you're based, things like that. So this is my bio. And again, my bio also changes based on who I'm sending it to and what is the objective of this, right? So if you can see, I start with listing out where all I've been featured. Then mine is an interesting opening where I tell them content is a lead gen gold mine, but not everyone knows how to mine it. And then I tell them why content is important. And then I say, I have a way with words, right? I can help you do all this. I've been doing this for 16 years for over 60 clients, many hours of learning, World Economic Forum. Then what are the topics I like to talk about? A little bit about my, personal life, um, what I love doing, new ideas and experiences, serving the community, and then some contact information, right? So it's not a very huge one-pager bio. It's a short bio, but it gives people a glimpse of who am I and what I have been doing, right? Your bio can be shorter than this also, that's fine. But what we're just trying to do is um, just give a little glimpse of who you are, right? So, for the beginners here, what can you do if you have no samples or experience to speak of? So, here are a few things. One is, and that's what we do in the 8-week intensive, the program that I run. Oops. Um, so we have 11 assignments in that the program. And what happens is when people do those assignments, that becomes a part of their portfolio, right? So I'll ask you, let's say, to write a blog about 10 ways you can boost happiness, right? For people who are, let's say, now more lifestyle writing domain. Now, once you've written that blog, the mentor will review it, give you feedback, you finalize it, and then you add it to your portfolio. So once you're done with the batch, you have 8 or 10 of these samples that becomes a part of your portfolio. And then once you've written it, let's say you wrote that 10 happiness hacks or something like that, Now you can pitch it to websites. Let's say, there used to be this one platform called Women's Web, which published a lot of interesting things. Like I once went to the jungles and I wrote about a city girl's guide to surviving in the jungle or something like that, or 7 tips on that. And it was just like a very quick write-up that I had done just because it was my first time in the jungle. Then I was like, oh, it's a whole different place out there. And I wrote it and I sent it to Women's Web and they published it, right? So I could take their logo and I can put it on my portfolio saying, I've been published in Women's Web. So similarly, whatever you're writing, there are other websites, other magazines that are always looking for content. So once you've created this sample, then you try and see, will any website pick it up? And like I said, 1 or 2 people were able to get their samples published. Now that has strengthened your bio, right? Till now, you've not worked with any clients. You're just writing for yourself. What is it that clients want to see? That are you able to understand a topic and are you able to articulate it well, right, in an engaging content. So this is what creating samples for yourself also is able to do, right? Now you can just randomly create samples. You have to figure out, okay, this is the niche I want to write in. Like today, if I want to create a sample, I'm not going to go create a sample of some random industry. I know my place is tech, so I would rather create a tech sample. Similarly, some of you might be in a fitness niche, right? So in that niche, you don't want to create a travel blog, right? You want to write something about fitness. So figure out what is your niche and then create your own samples, pitch them to media websites and see if something gets published, right? Now, so these sample part is sorted. Second is in the bio. Since you don't have any experience to talk about, you talk about your energy and enthusiasm to contribute, right? That why have you become a content writer? What is it that makes you so uh, a pleasure to work with, right? So talk about those things in the bio. And like I said, it doesn't have to be a very big bio, but even a small one would do. In the cover letter, another important thing, give a option, because obviously people want to see, will you work out with them? And if you're a fresher, they might be a little reluctant to work with you, right? So give them an option to do a free pilot project or a sample. Okay, I know I'm also new, and to build that trust, I'm willing to offer you a free sample. Most often people will not say no to it, right? Because nobody minds a free sample. And but when you get an okay to do a free sample, then you have to do your very best on it, right? Then you can't compromise on quality, because now you've got a foot in the door. Now you have to really do a great job, and make the client impressed with what you've sent, right? But that free sample kind of a thing will typically work. For testimonials, do some work for your peers or friends or family and get them to comment on your writing or your work ethic, etc., right? So I didn't have to do this for my writing business, but I've done it for my coaching business, right? Where um sorry, not coaching, the speaking business. So I speak at a lot of different organizations, and I do multiple sessions. But initially, when I started out as a speaker, people again need proof, right? So I did many free sessions for companies like Adobe, General Electric, Schneider, those kind of companies. And then once the session was done, I asked them for feedback saying, can you give me a small testimonial? Now, those testimonials I used to showcase to other companies, and now I charge like 50,000 bucks per hour to go talk in various platforms, right? So doing free work, getting testimonials for that, building your case study sets you up for success later, right? Because it's not easy to, on day one, nobody is going to pay you big money. You have to build that credibility, showcase that expertise, build that portfolio for people to say, okay, now this person is somebody we want to bring on board, right? So it's going to take time, and you have to start putting in that effort right away. Okay. And once you've done this, right, then you keep building the portfolio as you build experience. So every time you do a project, add it to your portfolio. Every time you do a project, add it to your portfolio. And that's how your portfolio becomes stronger, right? Now, another important thing, how should you send your portfolio? A lot of people ask me, we should build our website. No, you should not build your website, because what happens is when you build a website, one, most often content writers' websites that I've seen end up very basic. Now you're not being judged for the quality of your content, but you're being judged for the quality of the website design. And you don't want that, right? You want to be judged for what is your area of expertise. So on a website, so many things can go wrong. The design may not look very cutting edge. The UI UX might break. The links might not work. So when all of this happens, people the focus shifts, right? And also you have to spend a lot of time and effort and sometimes money to build that website, which could have been better utilized in finding clients or building a better portfolio. So don't run after websites. Till date, if you look for upgradeconsulting.com, I don't have a website. Okay. And I do like this year is not even over and I've done 2 crores in revenues. So website is irrelevant, right? People are very open to getting attachments or drive links or links to your published work. Till date, I send my work as an attachment, right? So uh, keep things simple. Uh, just obviously when if you're sending attachments, be conscious of the file size. And obviously in your first email, don't send attachments or links because that might land up in spam. Ask for permission before you send those, right? When you send Google Drive links, you make those links accessible and customized, right? So many times I get Google Drive link, I try to click it, it's like you don't have permission. That's a broken experience. We don't want to do that, right? And of course, if you have links to publish work, that's the best thing to send to clients, right? Because they can see your work out in the world. So how you send it is these 3 ways. And then finally you put it together professionally. Be very like I get portfolios like emails requesting me for work, which have some red text, some blue text, some black text, right? All font sizes are different. All fonts are different. Attachment, it says attachment, but attachment is missing. Oh, it is, annoying at best, and then this person is like the impression is bad, so we don't want to do that. So I'll just show you what my portfolio looks like, and like I said, you can probably take some inspiration from this. So this is my value proposition right up front, which is drive business with thought leadership is what I offer to my clients. And I tell them when I start that what is shifted, right? So I've done some research and I talk about um, how their business is shifting and why they need to look at a better approach to market their content. And then this is the tagline I use everywhere. This is my line, which says, at the heart of every great brand is brilliant content. And then I explain to them what is thought leadership, that it's not just good copy, it is a reason to do business with you, right? So I explain to them why investing money in this is important. And I just don't say that statement. I also show it with numbers, right? That this is going to be, if you invest here, this is going to bring you ROI. Then I tell them, okay, what is our experience like? Then I give them this is a big slide, but I obviously have to hide the names, the brands that I worked with. What are the services that I offer them? So what is it that they can work with me, long form research report, things like that. Then a little bit about me. Then some testimonials, right? The people that I have worked with and what do they say about me. Then my case studies, that what have I done, right? Created, you know, whatever those case studies are. And then the samples of my content that they can just click and look at, and then my contact details, right? So this is essentially my portfolio. I go back to, yeah, anyway. So, okay. So if you look at it, that was, I showed you my, the email that I sent out. I showed you, that's my cover letter. I showed you the value proposition I delivered. I showed you the bio that I sent out. And I've shown you how the samples that I sent out and how I put all of this together, right? Now, if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer those. I know this is a lot of monologues, so all those questions are more than welcome. And I have a request for you because we have a bit of time. Like I said, I run the 8-week program and I am starting a new batch sometime late November. So if you're interested, can I show you what that program is about? Just let me know a yes in the chat window. Shaka is asking, did you make it on Canva? No, I made it on PowerPoint. Nowadays, PowerPoint is decent enough. Okay, so I'll just take 5 minutes to take you through the one second. Take you through this program, and then I see a few questions coming, so I will share those as well. Okay. Um, okay. So it's generated a lot of opportunities for participants because when I started this program, I did it very selfishly. Okay. Like I said, everybody's always looking for great content writers, but it is very difficult to find them. And I went to a mentor to say, listen, I need to build my team, I need to hire people. And he tried to help me. We sent out so many job descriptions, but zero hires. I just couldn't find anyone. Then he also got frustrated and he's like, if you can't find anyone, why don't you just train them yourself? And that's when the Content Collective was born. The intention was that when people join this program, I am able to tell them what actual content writing is, what is it that clients are looking for, and then hire them to work for me. So there are like one of the mentors of this program, and for both mentors, Sai and Vijay, who will be working with the participants on a very regular basis, were participants in the cohort themselves, and now they work very regularly with me on projects. So there's a long list, Fahim, Aditi, Thanya, and you can see their stories maybe online, but um, it's helped me grow my business, and I'm hoping that it's helped them grow their business also. Um, so, like I said, you can check out their stories online. They're billing me lakhs worth of invoices every month. But I also want to say, if you want to join this program, you have to be very clear in terms of what you want, right? My approach is not a shortcut approach, right? I'm not going to say, oh, great, you joined the program. Now here are 5 clients you can work with. You have to show me that you've got what it takes to become a great content writer. You have to put in the effort. You need to put in the work and improve day by day. Like I give this example to most people when Sai joined my cohort and she started working for me. Initially, everything was deadline. In fact, they used to make fun of me and they said, give anything to Supriya to review and it's a bloodbath because everything is just crossed out, right? But they learned and they improved over time to an extent that, like I said, they're billing 1 or 2 lakhs a month every year, right? So that takes time, that takes effort, and that takes perseverance. So if you're just saying that, oh, Supriya, I'm joining your program, but give me clients, no, I will not do that. And if you just want to try it out again, not for you because just like, if you don't join calls, if you don't participate, that ruins the experience for everyone else also, right? And of course, if you already know everything, great. I've given you a lot of tools and a lot of free content that you can try it out yourself. The commitment for me would be that you should be willing to participate and learn, right? What in turn I will teach you is um, there's a sea of opportunities, but how do you not be directionless and how do you focus and get what you want? How do you write content that pays top dollar? Like I said, knowing a language, being able to write a few words is not enough. There's a lot that goes into writing content that people really want, right? I'll also tell you what most content writers don't know about client expectations and what, because I've been on both sides, right? So I know what clients want. Um, I'll teach you how to research quickly and efficiently, how to tell better stories, how to build this portfolio with those assignments that we talked about, how to find and convert clients, and how do you price your services, send quotations, sign agreements, etc. Right? So the logistics part of it as well, right? So this is how the program is designed. You will get 18 recorded sessions. You will get 4 live calls with me, which is 2 per month, but this is not limited to 4. I do this call every 15 days, and everyone from batch 1 is like the call is open. Anytime you have a question, you can come and join the call and ask me any questions you want. You want to show me your work, you can show that. You want to ask, take my help in pitching for a client, you can do that. Everything is available on these calls. In addition to these, you get 16 live calls with the program mentor. So 2 calls every week where they'll take you through in depth what is it that we talk about. You also get all the recordings from previous calls, lots of guides and worksheets so you can apply the concepts. You get to be a part of this WhatsApp group where I send those opportunities, etc. And you get preference for writing opportunities. And like I said, preference is not a guarantee, right? It depends on your capability. It's a very democratic process. Whenever I have a requirement, I'll send it in the group and I'll ask for quotes and samples. Whoever sends the best sample and the best quote gets a project, right? And of course, once I identify a person, chances are more work goes their way, right? You also get multiple practice assignments and mentor feedback and things like that. So that's how the program is structured. Very simply, in 8 weeks, we first focus on goal setting. Super, super, super important, because if you don't set goals, you don't know where you're going, right? Then we spend some time on understanding why is writing difficult. How do you understand what the client wants? How do you ask the right questions? And then some writing fundamentals that most content writers don't like mess up on. So we fix those fundamentals. Then we get into research and storytelling, and then we experiment with email writing, video writing, script writing, articles, blogs, LinkedIn, those kind of things, right? And after that 2 weeks, we focus on how do you finalizing your portfolio, client acquisition, pricing, documentation, ethics, just so that you're set up to um, take your highly paid business to market, right? So I'll give you these links. If you're interested, you have to apply. Um, and if your profile, like if you find a vibe, then we will call you. And if you like our vibe, you can then join in, right? So that's essentially what this whole thing is about. And like I said, I see a few questions. Let me just start answering those. Um, You mentioned leadership byline. What is it? So leadership byline, sorry, that's an industry term. What we call bylines are basically something that is published on a media platform. So the things that you see on Forbes or VentureBeat or any of these things where, company CEOs, etc., have written, they are written by somebody else, right? So those are leadership bylines where we take their ideas and um we present it in a way that media publications would be able to pick it up, and that is a byline, and that's typically 800 to 1,000 words is what we end up doing. Okay, what else? How do we know about the website or place where we can write? Google search. Uh, mm, okay, Praneeth, I didn't understand your question. You might have to clarify that. Um, okay. Where can I post my blogs as a beginner? You can create your own blogging page on Medium or WordPress and start posting there. Is the portfolio prepared in the form of a presentation? Yes. So I do a presentation. You can also do a Word document and convert it to a PDF. That's fine. Um, your course will only create competitors for you. Why you even letting your secrets pass out publicly? So, like I said, there is just so much content writing work that I'm not worried about competition. In fact, the reason that I've started this is to find more people who can write well so I can give them work and build my business, right? Because let's say you charge me 10,000 bucks to write a byline. If I can add a 20-25% margin on it and give it to my client without doing any work, I'm still getting that 2,500 as passive income, which is what adds up, right? Because as a writer, your bandwidth is limited. How many articles will you write in a month, right? You can maybe write 10, max 15 good articles, and that limits your earning capacity. So if you have to grow your business, you need to find more people who will work for you, will work with you. And most of the folks from the cohort who have started working with me, I'm their only client, because I just send them so much work that they're like, we can't take any more. And it works out, I think, win-win for everyone. I work for a company. Can I include those blog links on my portfolio? If you've written them, yes, sure, you can. Is any course available for beginners? I think this addresses both, right? Beginners and experienced content writers, because what I found is uh, most people don't know what content writing is, right? Mainly because the field has been diluted so much in recent years that anyone who's even writing Amazon product descriptions calls themselves content writers. So the course is sort of fixing those perceptions, really telling you what is it that high paying clients want. And so I think it works for both. Uh, do you use LinkedIn posts or LinkedIn pages to showcase your bio, work samples, and testimonials? So I keep my LinkedIn page just barely alive. Okay, it's not this thriving place where I'm posting every day. I think I post once or twice in a month, but my bio is updated. My testimonials are updated. Um, I don't really have any work samples. I have one or two featured stories. That's just about, I think, one of my TEDx talks and whatever. But my work doesn't necessarily come from LinkedIn, and I'll talk about it in another webinar maybe someday, where I believe in a circle of influence, people who I know, who they know, and what is this network that I can tap into, because that always opens bigger and better doors rather than randomly just posting on LinkedIn and hoping somebody will take a look at it and give you work, right? So I don't have a great presence on LinkedIn, but yeah, it's there so that in case somebody wants to check me out, they have enough information to make up their mind. But yeah, it's not a business builder for me per se. Okay, fee, cost, etc. Please ask Fahim. Let's not waste this time on logistic details. I'm going to give you these 1 second. Sorry, I forgot to send this out. I will give you these details in the chat window. You can check with Fahim, timeline, start date, fees, everything else. He will tell you. Um, I've given you his contact details also. Okay. Then our platforms like Journal Portfolio, good option. They require subscription. So I'm a believer in minimalistic outreach. Okay. You don't have to spend money initially. Like, do what is free, do what is simple, do what is easy, um, and work will come. Okay. Uh, Platforms are secondary, networks are non-negotiable. And I think I have to do that webinar again where I talk about networks. But once you make a connection with a person, it doesn't matter how you send them your portfolio as long as it's nicely, neatly, cleanly done. Okay. Are links of the content shared in the portfolio? Yes, you should share some links or something that they can see. Will AI, oh, this comes up every time. Will AI tools impact content writing opportunities in the future? They are impacting content writing opportunities now. Okay. And it's not just content writing, it's everywhere. Like, I don't know how many of you hear these news of people getting fired left, right, and center because AI is able to do their jobs, and these are engineers, right? So, no matter the field you're in, AI is going to take over jobs. But in the next 5 years, execution led jobs will not be available because that's what AI can do simply, more efficiently, more cheaply, which is why you need to build thought process. What is your value proposition in a world that execution doesn't matter? So, all of those people who are writing SEO blogs, I'm sorry, but it will not have any opportunities, right? So, you have to level up your skills. You have to get to the storytelling stage, right? You have to get to the stage where you're building compelling narratives, where you're able to understand the mindset of the audience that you're writing for and give them stories that resonate with them so that they end up buying the product or service of the company that you're writing for, right? When you're able to do that, then AI isn't going to affect your work much. In fact, it'll become an enabler because it'll tell you the kind of, like, it'll improve the quality of your writing and things like that, but it will not take away from the value that you bring to the table. So if you're in the execution space, it is time now to start thinking about how do I get out of it and do something better and more valuable for my client. Okay, so I'm being very honest, and not just content writing. Every execution led job will go away. Okay. Engineers are already, consultants in big four companies are facing this. So I mean, content writing is not just, it's just a more obvious field, I guess, but it's everywhere. Like, imagine those autonomous vehicles. I was reading some report where the biggest threat of autonomous vehicles is to drivers. Because if a car is driving itself, what is the driver going to do? Right? So all of these people who are driving Ola, Uber, and those logistics goods, their jobs are at risk. So they're not content writers, but AI is affecting them also. It's just, it's everywhere. And sorry, I don't want to talk about this whole doomsday scenario, but yes, people, please level up. Okay. Do you suggest creating a separate portfolio for every niche? Like, for example, yes, ideally that would be the best. If you have enough samples, that's a great thing to do. Having 5 months of experience, how much can I charge per word for my blogs? It doesn't matter how much experience you have. I'll have to see the quality of your writing to tell you what you can charge. And like again, I said, per word is a very difficult, like it's not the right metric. Get out of that. Say, I will write a blog for you that will drive so much traffic to your website, and therefore I will charge, let's say, $1,000, 2,000, $5,000 for it, right? So, and there is a session on pricing also where I talk about this in detail. That how do you get around to figuring out how much should I charge? Okay. Um, the work sample links you have added in your portfolio were the document links. Um, no, they are published links. On so some a lot of it is my work, like Word Economic Forum. It is my own uh, byline, so I can add it. There are few plans which are okay by me saying, fine, you can talk about it. So those are okay to share. You can, if you don't want to share links, what you can also do is, like I said, when you are talking to a client, you can just show them on a call that this is the work that you've done, but not really share the thing, anything confidential, right? So for example, when I do a lot of work for clients internally, their demo videos, there is that, which I never share. Anything that's available publicly, you can, if the client is okay, you can share those. Um, the drivers will have to take up content writing, maybe. Okay. What's the difference between content writing, copywriting, and UX writing? How is that related to portfolio? But anyway, I think boundaries are blurring everywhere. It's not like you can't say this is only content and this is only copy. Um, Ultimately, it is about what does the company want to achieve by writing this and who is the reader, right? So a lot of my business writing today has become very copywriting sorts, because copywriting, the intention typically is to give people a reason to buy, right? And that is ultimately the mega driving reason behind everything that you're writing. So I think the differentiation is not so important anymore. Okay, just a beginner content writer, can I use only LinkedIn post to showcase their work, sample art, and other alternatives? So Kaushik, I talked about those initially. I think maybe you joined a little later, so once you watch this recording, you'll be able to see this. But yeah, like when you're a beginner content writer, LinkedIn is a great place to show how you write. But again, you have to look at social media in this sense. If you don't have any followers, if you don't have any connections, no matter how much you post on LinkedIn, nobody's looking at it, right? So when you're using these channels like your website or your LinkedIn, then you also have to drive traffic to those sites to, to get people to see it. So, uh, I mean, then whatever works for you. I think the batch starts on 25th November. And like I said, the rest, everything we can ask Fahim. I'll give his details again. There is an application form, so you guys have to fill the form and then he'll get in touch with you. And after this session also, you will get a recording and a link so you can have a chat and figure that out. I think I've taken enough and more time. We are 15 minutes over time, but thank you so much for listening to me and have a great weekend, all of you. Um, you know, and thank you again for rescheduling for me. Thank you. Bye.